Welcome to Hoffman's Hunting Heritage.
From the Great Lakes to the heartland, from mountains to the sea, there's a hunting heritage in the blood of folks like you and me. With rut bucks and goblin struts, it's hunting that we love. Mother Nature guides us on this land, and we give thanks up above. This hunting heritage is a bond that never fades away. We're your camo wearing family from across the USA. So fill your cup and listen up, y'all mean so much to me. It's time for the show, so go grab your bow. This is a wild place to be.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of Hoffman's Hunting Heritage. I'm your host, Bill Hoffman, and I'm giving you guys all something that you want. A podcast where it's not just me talking. I've got a guest on the line. He's no stranger to this show. He's no stranger to y'all, Mr. Jacob Hacker. What's going on, brother?
How's it going, Billy?
Oh, you know, the reason we actually got to do this podcast today is because right now I should be sitting my ass in northern Michigan deer camp. But, you know, sometimes life works in mysterious ways. And about 2 a.m. last night, Hunter, my 6-year-old, got sick, and which meant he didn't go to school today, which means my wife works during the day, which means I got to stay home from deer camp for a day until my wife gets home from work tonight, and then I'll head up. So, you know, all in all, I missed one evening hunt of this camp, so it's not a big deal, but you're a father yourself. You know how that goes sometimes, right?
Oh, I understand that for sure.
Yeah, it's it is what it is. And what's really funny is, by the way, guys, the topic for today's show is it's going to be scrape hunting and what scrapes mean and mock scrapes and all that. But Jake and I don't get to talk all that often. We're actually I consider him one of my best friends. So it's going to be a little bit of a catch-up session, too, on this one. But this morning, Jake, we're sitting there and we're watching cartoons. And I look out the window and I go, there's a deer. And this little button buck fawn. And he was small, actually, really small for being mid-October. But he walked up and he's eating in my tomato plants. And now, my neighbor's house is 25 feet from the edge of mine on that side. We have a lot of woods in the back, but our houses are relatively close to each other. And my garden is in between our two houses. So he's like, he's being pretty brazen, you know, coming in there and eating on my garden. And God bless my little 6-year-old. The first thing he does is goes, kill it. We'll have it for lunch. Sitting there with 102 fever. Can't even keep Motrin or Tylenol in his stomach, puking his guts out. He's thinking about venison lunch.
Poor guy. You shot it then, right?
That's a win as a father. Hell no, I didn't shoot. That's a neighborhood deer. That thing's a pet.
Oh. If he was a $140, you would have shot him.
If he was a $140, I would have stabbed him from the jumping out the top window. But maybe one day, and I can actually legally hunt here. You know, but the problem with hunting at my house is it's not a problem. I got woods behind the house, and the deer, it's a perfect funnel. There's a lot of travel through it, and but no matter what, they're gonna run on a neighbor's property. So it's just one of those urban hunting issues where you can smack one, but you better be cool with your neighbors when they have a dead deer in their pool.
Yeah, it's always a mess.
Yeah. So anyway, refresh my listeners. They should know who you are, but just in case they don't, introduce yourself, the type of where you're from, the type of hunting you want to do, maybe what you're doing right now, because that plays into everything. But who are you anyway? Why should I even have you on the show?
Well, I have no idea why you should have me on the show.
Quit being modest.
So I am from the great, wonderful state of Ohio.
I'll beep that. I'll beep that out.
You can't bleep that out. I was going to work in that I'm also from Cincinnati, the home of Urban Meyer, but moving along. So I've been working in the outdoor industry for, I don't know, close to 10 years now. And then it's been my full-time job for the last 4 or 5 years. I hunt all over the place, hunt all over the world, hunt all over the country. Right now, I'm actually driving home from Nebraska, from a mule deer hunt in Nebraska, and headed home to get some whitetail stuff in order. And I'll be home for about a week, and then I'm heading back to Colorado for another mule deer hunt.
All right, now that's absolutely fantastic. Now I know you have this project trailer that you're building, an enclosed kind of like, well, what we would call up here in Michigan a snowmobile trailer. I don't know what you guys call it, a car hauler, or what you guys would call it. But did you take that on this trip, or is that still a work in progress?
So I didn't take it on this trip because this trip's a whole nother story, man. But so I was supposed to have a place to stay on this trip, so I didn't bring that trailer. But I'm building that trailer. It's just a cargo trailer, 12-footer, haul ATV or whatever in it. But I filled it up with a camper. I've got solar and water and everything in it. So it's coming to Colorado and Wyoming with me in 2 weeks. But I did not bring it on this trip, and I wish that I had.
Yeah, I saw. I guess I saw a couple of pictures of the truck you took and sent to me where you're out in some prairie lands, and I thought, well, he's probably gonna unhook from the trailer and go scout. But I didn't know if you had taken it along with you. But did you have any luck in Nebraska?
Man, we had a good hunt. So I met 2 of my customers out there actually, and put them on some public land. I'd been seeing some really big whitetails there, and I had no desire to shoot a whitetail when I was in Nebraska, unless it was just a monster. But I put them on some whitetails. Bless their hearts, I won't name their names because they couldn't shoot straight for anything. But combined, they missed 4 shots in 3 days of hunting. But they were happy and called that successful, and they had a good time. For me, I didn't find the giant buck that I was after that was supposed to be around there, but I did tag out on a little mule deer on the last day hunting there.
Oh, cool! So you coming back home with some meat?
Yeah, man. I know you and I have talked about this before, what a successful hunt is, and I'm not one of those guys who thinks a successful hunt is going out and watching birds and seeing deer and having fun in a tree. I'm a guy who thinks success is filling a tag. Now, it might not be with a monster every time, but I like to punch my tags. So I was able to do that this trip, and it worked out well. Yeah,
and when it comes to stuff like that, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Yours is just wrong.
Well, it's not the only thing I'm wrong about.
No, I'm kidding. I that is absolutely, if the goal, if it wasn't about shooting the deer, if it wasn't about filling the tag, I shouldn't say about that. If that wasn't a big part of it, we might not do it. Now, for example, this deer camp that I'm supposed to be at right now, we're going 8 years in a row without a kill.
Wow.
It's big woods. It's northern Michigan. It is getting to the point where I'm going to shoot the first brown thing I see. Now, I've had plenty of opportunities. It's almost more fun to not shoot something and just say, because our camp is called Lucky Trail, so we always say only the deer get lucky at Lucky Trail. And for those of you that have read my books, yes, Lucky Trail is a real place. It's nothing like Lucky Trail in my books. I just stole the name. But to the point now, it's like, well, I guess if we're going to kill something, we're going to have to make it worth it. So, but always have a good time. We eat like pigs and it's all that. But I tell you what, as we record this, what day is October? 11th, 10th?
Sure. Sounds good.
Something 10th,
like that. 11th, something.
So we are, full swing in everyone's. Pretty much in the Midwest. I think everyone's open now. Deer hunting seasons. And we're not really in the pre-rut yet, and we're definitely not in the rut, but we are starting to see a little bit more scrape activity. So I know you have this scrape system, and I just kind of wanted to pick your brains on it and, see how, if you hunt them at all, if you just use them as indicators and whatnot. And you and I have talked over the years, and guys, Jake has this fantastic theory on football scrapes. And at this point, I'm going to kind of turn things over to him and see what he does with scrapes, what they tell him, and I'll just ask questions here and there.
Sounds good. So to clarify on scrapes, I'm talking about big bucks here. Now, I just talked about, hunting out west, and I dinked out on a little mule deer. That is not my whitetail strategy. I've killed enough whitetails. I'm only hunting big whitetails. So when I'm talking about hunting scrapes like this, I'm talking about big, mature, old bucks. So what I do when looking for scrapes, it started about a week ago, is when I start looking for them. I don't really hunt scrapes at all. Even if I find a big scrape, I rarely sit over a scrape. But what I do like about scrapes is they tell me when I should be in the woods. So this time of the year, really for the last week and for probably about 1 to maybe 2 more weeks, I'll be in the woods checking cameras. If it's a place I'm feeding, I'll be feeding, hanging sets, and I'm looking for what I call football scrapes in the woods. And these are scrapes that are about the size and shape of a football, 10 to 12 inches long. And when you get that first cold snap in October, or the first big drop in barometric pressure, or first front come in, whatever, usually you'll see a bunch of these scrapes pop up. And what these scrapes are usually made from are younger bucks. They're younger bucks, button bucks, 1.5, maybe even 2.5-year-old bucks, and they just open up all over the woods. So my theory and what I've done in hunting these scrapes for now the last 5 years, and I've been pretty successful on them, is, whitetail doe has a 28-day estrus cycle. So when these scrapes stop popping up right now, it's because that young buck is getting his first whiff of pre-estrus. So when those scrapes open up, I'm thinking that a doe is 28 days out from being on her peak heat estrus cycle, and that's when I know the big bucks are going to be chasing. So right now, this time of the year, I'm checking all my properties, and each herd's different, man. So, a week ago, I had scrapes pop up on one of my Cincinnati properties. And my northern properties up near Columbus, nothing's popped up yet. So they might be a week or 2 out. But whenever I find that scrape on that property, I'm going to mark on my calendar 28, 29, 30, 31, and 32 days out. And those are the days that I'm going to hunt. So my scrapes that pop open October 1st, I'm going to be in the woods October 30th, 31st, November 1st, 2nd, 3rd. Those are the days that I want to be out there hunting, because that's when the big bucks are going to be on their feet after the doe in that area that's going to be in her estrus cycle. And the other thing to keep in mind is the does all usually cycle together. So you'll get all the adult does in that area as they're cycling, and then a month later, you're going to get the yearling does that are going to come in, and that's going to be, what we think of as our second rut, being usually sometime in December. That's going to be the next set of 28 to 32 days farther down the road that I'm going to hunt. And in using that system, I rarely hunt in October. I had an opening day with my kid here, but my average days on stand before tagging out over the last 5 years is 3 days. So being able to narrow it down has really helped me be successful and not over hunt an area.
Yeah. Wow. I guess, okay. So first of all, Jake's not talking out his ass, guys. He has a 187. He has a bunch of bucks of over 150. He's been on the tail of a couple 200-inch bucks over over the years of our friendship, in multiple different states. So the dude's legit. All right. And, I have a hard time not hunting October, but but I guess it's different goals. I guess, on the average in general, I don't have the herd you have. And so I think that's made me more of a quantity versus quality type hunter. And,
sure.
And I think you would probably consider yourself maybe the opposite of that. But, that being said, we both have the same goal. And, so while I do hunt more days in October than you, I never miss my 28-day window. And so far, it has paid off. Now, for me, it's paid off on 120 to 130-inch bucks. For you, it's paid off on, real wall hangers. So that's really interesting. Now, You talked a little bit about that second rut. Do you see the scrape activity fire back up again, or do you just kind of play it by ear?
So you'll see the big like car hood size scrapes on the edge of fields, usually under an oak tree or a white pine.
I call them community scrapes. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see those guys open up, but those football scrapes, they'll be open. When they get opened up this time of year, they'll never be touched again. Nothing's ever going to come back into them. You might have some tracks in it from a doe that just happened to walk along that same trail because that's where the bucks place them at. But those scrapes do not get touched up again until next year. And they'll usually pop up in the same place again next year just because it's just the way a whitetail acts. Yeah, just where they happen to be. But no, they won't pop back up for that second rut. So you've got that one period to find them and mark your calendars now.
All right, cool. And I did plan on really talking about rubs, but does that come into play at all here?
No, man, I don't even look at rubs in the woods. I mean, I've hunted them before. You know, when I first started whitetail hunting, it's just one of those signs that doesn't really tell me much. You get a rub line through the woods, and it could mean that there's a lot of bucks there, or it could be a buck marking his territory. But man, I've killed bucks that 150-inch bucks where the main beams almost touch, and they couldn't fit a tree bigger than your two fingers in between there. And then I've killed or seen little forkies and 6-pointers rub trees, the size of me. So rubs don't tell me much. I don't get real excited over rubs.
All right. Yeah. Up where I'm going hunting tonight, you be walking through the woods. You'd be like, holy shit, look at that rub. Oh my God. And you're like, oh yeah, that's an elk. You're like, never mind.
Yeah.
I got excited about nothing. I mean, it's still cool. Don't get me wrong, but that's really cool. All right, cool. We're running up on 20 minutes here. We're going to get this wrapped up, but I think to summarize this, guys, is get out, scout your properties, find those football scrapes, and actually have a calendar. Jake actually has one on his wall. This is not, it's a visual thing. You walk by it, you see it. The other reason I have this calendar is, I mark the scrape on there. I count out the 28 days and I mark those hunt days. You know who else sees those hunt days? You know who else sees that calendar? You know who else realizes that those days are a priority?
Yep.
The wife.
Yep.
And she knows that those days are for me. She gets a lot of days, and I guess a good way to look at this is you got all October. If you take Jake's system, you got all October to get the honeydews, to rake the leaves, to go to the apple orchard on a Saturday. You got all that time to spend quality time with the family so that you can spend quality time in the woods. I don't think you'd disagree with that, right?
No, that's 100% right. And, that I couldn't agree more with you, man. That keeping a calendar, keeping a log helps in a lot of different ways in whitetail hunting. If you're a serious whitetail hunter, you should be keeping a log of every hunt and wind direction and moon phase and everything. But even if you just keep a simple calendar and base your rut hunts around it, you're gonna be better off all around.
Now, in closing, I got one more question. You did say that it varies on different properties based on where you're at. I understand that. That makes sense. Now, Does it vary from year to year? I guess what the question I'm asking is if it's October 27th to November 3rd on your Adams County prop. You want me to beep that? Sorry.
No, it's fine. I don't care.
Okay. On your undisclosed location in southeastern Ohio, is it always going to be that 27th through the 3rd, or will it shift a week up or back depending on the year?
It's always been really, really close. So this is, I think I said 4 or 5 years. This might be 6 or 7 years now I've been doing this. And the one property that I've got pretty close to Cincinnati that I started this on, it's been within 3 days every year.
Okay. So you can plan vacations around it.
You can. Yeah, you can. I think there's other factors I would look into for it, but yeah, you definitely can.
That's really cool. It's a really good system, and it has paid off for me. The only thing I do differently is I spend more time in the woods than Hacker, thus meaning, I'm one of those guys that says I don't care about the wind direction. I've got a place I can go. I mean, I use the wind, don't get me wrong, but I never don't hunt because of it unless it's gale force or something like that. Or, if something's not, it doesn't have to be a perfect situation for me to go in the woods. So, to each their own as far as that goes. But when I do get in the woods, I always try to stay focused and always think that, hey, it could happen today. And Jake, do you know why? I mean, we're different, obviously, but do you know why I get outside?
Well, because it's a wild place to be, Billy.
Ladies and gentlemen, he knows the tagline. He's no rookie. I set him up. He knocked it out of the park. That wasn't set up. We're gonna get out of here and gonna go check on my little man, make sure everything's still good, and we'll be back here next week on the show. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Hoffman's Hunting Heritage. Get outdoors. It's a wild place to be.